Hi everyone, Yulia here again. Today I'm in my side garden and I wanted to share with you some tips and design ideas on narrow and long spaces. If you live in a suburban neighborhood like I do, and I actually, every house that I own, I had a narrow long space on the side of the house that was a bit difficult to design. So if you have the same kind of uh, property outline, then this video may be helpful for you with getting some ideas on how to design this space. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you my space and share some of the tips with you. So I'm going to start here by the lanai where you enter the side garden from the backyard. And one of the first things that we installed in here were those pathways. And this path leads all the way to the front of the house. Even though this path is linear, it doesn't go in a straight line all the way to the back gate. So what I did here when designing this pathway, I offset it on this side, and if you can see, like towards the house, the path is or the garden bed is a lot smaller, and then by the fence, this garden bed is larger. And this allowed me to place larger trees on this side. So for example, like I have palm trees that will grow to be 10-15 feet tall, and if I was to place this pathway in the center of this narrow bed, then both sides would have equal beds that would be still narrow, and it would not allow me to place a bigger tree in here. But for example, here, this banana tree, it has enough space to grow, and then I can place like smaller plants, like just perennials in here, or grasses or other plants, and on this side I can place bigger trees. So it will allow for privacy, but also gives it more structure and more lush feeling on this side. So wanted to talk a little bit about this path. So what we did, we just got this lumber. It's garden lumber from Lowe's, and it comes in a natural color, and then I stain it black. So we installed this lumber all throughout this side yard, and we dug this path maybe about 3-4 inches deep, and then I put underlayment here and covered it with gravel. We already had these existing pavers, they had a different finish on them, and we just bought concrete, and each paver, my husband concreted just the top of the paver to make it look a little bit more modern. And that allowed us to save some money since we already had existing pavers around the house that we were able to pick up. And then we just installed them here, just to make it easier to walk on this gravel. And I'm gonna walk first and kind of show you the outline of this path, and then I'm gonna come back and show you the plants that I have right now. So as I mentioned, the garden beds are not exact size on each side of the path. So here I have about 2.5 feet garden bed, and it doesn't have any big trees. It has some shrubs and just flowers. And then this side, this is much deeper. So this is probably like 3.5 feet. And I was able, because of that I guess deeper bed, I was able to place trees in here. So the trees that I chose here, this is Italian cypress. The shape of them is thin and narrow as it is, so it was a perfect fit for this space. It will also provide me privacy as they grow. They also fast growing. They grow about 3 feet per year, which is significant because some trees take a lot longer than that. And then also closer to the house here, I have palm trees. And these will get to like 10-15 feet high. And they will provide nice canopy over this path. But still, even right now when they're smaller, they do not block the pathway. So I'm hoping as they grow and they get taller and get a little bit bigger, they will shade over the path, but I'm still going to be able to walk through without hitting the branches. So this one is a rubber plant. And this can grow into a big tree, but also can be trained into a bush form. And what I'm going for here right now is I was thinking more of a just bush for privacy. Yeah, I don't want it to grow too big. So as I come to the end of this path, I have an open area here. It's just kind of like a landing, and I did this to break up this long and narrow yard. So by having something different, like right in the middle of it, it really just kind of like draws your eye towards a focal point, which I have a statue of a lady here, and it just creates more interest. So on a side now, as compared to this thicker border that I had here, now I just have a very narrow strip, and still I was able to place one of the trees in here, but mostly it's just a ground cover here because the space is so narrow. And then on a wall here, I'm training a fig tree. So this is a palliated form of a fig, and I started it just from a little 1-gallon tree that I got at Lowe's. It was about maybe 2.5 feet tall, and fig trees, they grow extremely fast. So it's been about a year and a half, probably not even 2 years since I planted these trees, and it's been producing figs and growing really well, considering how much I caught it, because I have to train it, and it's starting to produce figs again. It's just a really fun tree to train as well. And that's what I do here. Once these limbs start growing, like I have to tie them. I have a wire going here. So once they start growing, I have to tie them up here and train them. So flanking this tree, I have two Eugenia topiaries that I'm training into a sphere form. And right now they're looking already close to a sphere, not perfect form yet. But as they grow and as they flash new growth, I continue training them until they will resemble a ball shape. And the path continues this way. And then it takes a turn. And at the end of this path, I just have another focal point. And this one is a lot smaller and understated. And this is just kind of cover up because in the back I have garbage cans and I have AC unit. So by having this fiddle fig leaf tree growing here, and also having this stand with a plant here, it kind of covers up the area a little bit. But then the path turns this way, and it leads to the gate. So right by the gate here, this garden bed by the fence is extremely narrow. This is like just over a foot wide, and the plants, I haven't really finished designing this narrow bed, but I already have a few plants here. I do need to get some privacy here, so I planted this fiddle leaf fig here, and we'll see if it's gonna look good here. I just had some extras of this plant, and they look very easy to grow in my climate. So I placed them in here, but eventually I may move them and find something else that is tall. I'm thinking about like something that's 6 feet tall but has a upright narrow form, so I can form a little bit of privacy here. But as you can see, the path is very narrow here. I mean, the garden bed is very narrow here, but the path is very wide. And the reason for this is practical reason, because we have garbage cans here, so I needed to allow for easy access to garbage cans, because you know we have to be able to roll them out every week, and I didn't want to stumble over the plants or have a difficulty with that. And on this side, I have a small bed as well, and this one has three crinum lilies. This one is Queen Emma, beautiful, beautiful plant, and they bloom so beautifully as well. And just some succulents on the bottom. And eventually I'm gonna underplant more plants here, but I just didn't get to it. But yeah, so this is the smaller bed here, and then a very narrow bed on the side by the fence. This area also houses air conditioning, and we have it sectioned off with this half wall. To add more interest to this garden, I placed these 3 pots on each corner of the beds, and in the pots I have lemongrass, so it's very easy to care for, and it grows just without a lot of maintenance. Ground cover here is oyster plant. These are very easy to maintain, and they multiply like crazy. So again, this is just a very easy plant to grow. I have another variety of rubber plant here, and this one is a variegated variety. Beautiful leaves, and again, this one will need to be like, if I don't want it to overcrowd this space, I will have to maintain it at a certain height and width. Canna lily in the back, and I have a line of cypress trees on this side of the house, and I'm hoping that as they grow bigger and taller, they will provide more privacy. So, and here's a look from this side. And what I wanted to mention is one of the favorite things that I have in this side yard is really just breaking up the side yard into 2 parts and allowing for this space in the middle with a focal point. Every time I have visitors, like, they point out to that, and it seems like it's just a bit unexpected to have in a side yard and narrow space. But sometimes when you do the opposite, instead of trying to like have a narrow path, and you do the opposite and you expand it and make it a bigger area, it brings more impact here. So another wonderful plant that I like to grow is vinca. It's very easy to grow, low maintenance, it doesn't need any deadheading. It is an annual in some climates, but in my zone 10A, it's a perennial, or at least it seems to be a perennial. I planted this last year and it's growing really well. During colder months, it doesn't look as good, but as soon as the heat kicks in, it seems to bounce right back. Then I have this Farfugium here, and this plant is so beautiful. I want more of it. It is a bit expensive to buy. I was just at the garden center yesterday and they sell them $40 each. But just such a beautiful plant. It reminds me of a lily pad and it brings a lot of interest to the garden. And more vinca here. Banana trees. This beautiful rubber plant. Another very fast growing plant for Florida. And then I have palm trees. I also planted dahlias here and they have lots of buds. I don't know what color it's gonna be because it was a mix, but I'm excited to see it. And on this side I have dahlia that is starting to open up. So beautiful. I planted a rose bush. So roses are very difficult to grow in Florida. This one already bloomed for me once and it looks like it has buds again. And it's early enough in the season, so in May, April, May, typically we don't have as many bugs yet. So I might get more blooms out of it, but definitely needs to be treated. Otherwise, they get destroyed by bugs. On this side again I have more vinca, and this is different variety. This one is called polka dot, and look how pretty it is, and they will get big. So I have trio right here and another trio here by the tree, and they will get about this big. These ones are from last year, so they do get pretty big. And I have 3 plants in this grouping here, so you can get an idea of just how big they will get. Then I have a big pot here and it has lemongrass. Another variegated rubber plant, and this one is in a better shape than the one that I showed you before. It's just so beautiful. And the reason why I placed them in between those palm trees, because as the palms will grow taller, I want to have a little bit more privacy here. So once the canopy of the palms will be raised, I want to have some kind of a perennial bush plant in here, kind of just like to cover up that hole. So I have more ground covers here. And this one is a canna lily. This will get about 6-7 feet tall. It's a very nice plant. So it just started growing. For this season, it does die back in the winter time, even if the temperatures don't get too cold. But it still dies back, and I just typically just cut it down and then it flushes back when it gets hot. Yeah, so more ground covers, more palms and bananas, and this is the end of the garden, and then it leads into my yard. So here's another look at this side garden, And I hope this gave you some ideas for narrow side yards, and I hope you enjoyed this video.